Ladies and gentlemen, right now the district attorney in Santa Fe is deciding whether to charge Alec Baldwin. Initially, legal scholars or lawyers, attorneys looking at this said, you know what? This falls under an excusable clause, okay, and a clause or statute within the New Mexico criminal statutes that says, well, when committed by accident or misfortune in doing any lawful act by lawful means with usual and ordinary caution and without any unlawful intent, even if you accidentally end someone's life, you're not going to get criminally charged. That link will be below to the specific statute. Okay, I found the specific statute that attorneys initially said, well, Alec Baldwin isn't going to be charged. That might be the specific statute that he was told about, where he said to George Stephanopoulos, I was told there was no criminal charges being leveled at me. The problem, however, with this is that we keep finding out more information. And just today, for example, Alec Baldwin is quoted in a Fox News article talking about how he's spoken to spiritual leaders and religious leaders to help him get him through, this madness. Well, any spiritual or religious leader that's speaking to Alec Baldwin should probably understand that, A, he didn't check the firearm himself. The armor was not in the church. The armor did not give him the firearm. He didn't think Alec Baldwin lied when he said that she fainted or that he thought she had a heart attack. There was a protest of unsafe working conditions by camera crew, but this is a very important point, okay? So all the wonderful spiritual leaders should understand this. The affidavit, this is People magazine, the affidavit reveals heartbreaking new details about the cinematographer's final moments. This is one of the reasons why this statute, he can't hide behind the usual and ordinary caution, okay? It's not just an accident. It was an accidental fatality. He almost certainly accidentally ended the cinematographer's life. And I say that I'm going to read this with all due respect because I do understand that, her family is mourning, and I understand that this is a horrible tragedy. But this article and the initial reporting on this, the first 2, 3, 4 days, is gold. It's fantastic. And it talks about what she was saying, her last words. And so it would have been impossible for Alec Baldwin not to realize that he just ended this woman's life, okay? You can't have redemption if you continually lie all the time, which is what he did, what he was doing, and he continues to do, okay? But hit subscribe to this channel. I have a fantastic segment on the stock market crash channel right after this one pertaining to mashed potato brains policies leading us into a stock market crash, his specific policies, and I read a really wonderful article in Reason magazine. So that will be in the stock market crash channel. That's below in the pinned comment. Hit subscribe there, hit subscribe here, and to my new Patreons, thank you so very much. I cannot do this without you. So to my new Patreons, thank you so much. If you want to support my work long term and ensure that my work, stays forever, my Patreon is below in the pinned comment. Thank you so very much. I think I'm going to start a Subscribe Star soon as well if you not really into Patreon. But I want to read you this People magazine article, and the legal statute will be below as well in the description section. My description section is meticulous. What he did was he aimed at the cinematographer's midsection and stomach area with an extremely powerful revolver that was loaded. You could say that was an accident, but it was an accident that resulted from negligence, carelessness, reckless behavior. So the accident label should be taken within that context. Now, the armorer was not in the church. She did not hand him the firearm, so he did not take the usual necessary precautions that would absolve him or would protect him under that clause, in addition to a whole bunch of other things. But I want to read you this. He told police, the director, he remembers the cinematographer, quote, complaining about her stomach and grabbing her midsection before she began to stumble backwards and she was assisted to the ground. Alec Baldwin was 18 inches away from her. 18 inches away. It would have been very dangerous, or it would have ended her life with blanks, depending on, the situation or, how the blanks were made. But 18 inches away, they actually were protecting cameras, according to one interview in TMZ. They were actually protecting cameras from the blanks. And so you have a situation where he's 18 inches away. He says that he thought she had a heart attack, that he thought that she fainted. Well, no. The director, who was also injured, told police in the affidavit that she was complaining about her stomach and grabbing her midsection. She began stumbling backwards, and she was assisted to the ground. The director said, quote, explained that she was bleeding from his shoulder, and he could see blood on the cinematographer. While Russell, quote, remembered Joel having blood on his person and the cinematographer speaking and saying she couldn't feel her legs. Okay? So she was able to speak at that moment. Now, he had to have aimed the gun in that direction, in her direction. Okay? I don't exactly know how the bullet could ricochet from the camera lens into the cinematographer and then into the cinematographer and then into the director's shoulder, standing behind her, over her shoulder. None of this makes any sense. The trajectory of this quote-unquote magic bullet makes no sense, but we'll just go with, okay, only one round was fired. We have to find out if there's a recording of it, and almost certainly if there was, which there almost certainly was, it would have been deleted. Okay? Initial reporting said that there was a recording. Then the reporting said, oh, well, you know what, there was no recording because they were down to one camera, or because one of the cameras were destroyed, from the gunfire. Basically, there's no reason why they wouldn't be recording that if they were looking at camera angles. Wouldn't you want to, you wouldn't remember the specific camera angles just by memory. You would want to record that. So the director said the incident wasn't filmed because they were just working on setting up the camera for the scene. That makes no sense at all. Why would you set up the camera? First of all, it's digital. You're not really, you're not wasting film, and you're not wasting that much memory. And that initial reporting from Radar Online and The Sun said that it was filmed. And those articles will be below in the pinned comment. The director has every reason in the world, and I'm not saying that he's doing this, but he has every reason in the world to protect Alec Baldwin. Because when Baldwin said that, oh, well, she was directing me, well, what was the director doing? Alec Baldwin, to George Stephanopoulos, was blaming the cinematographer, saying that, oh, well, she told me to point the firearm in her direction. She told me to pull the hammer back. Okay, that's another reason. That's another issue. The usual and ordinary caution does not state you pull the hammer back 18 inches away at somebody while you're pointing and aiming at their midsection. Okay, you know that if you don't check it yourself, and you're relying on the assistant director who knows nothing about firearms, and you're pointing the Colt 45, very powerful round, at a woman's midsection, okay, her stomach area, or in between her stomach and chest area. So you're not abiding by usual and ordinary caution, especially since there was a protest of camera crew hours after, and you left and you left the firearm unattended for 10 minutes on a cart outside of the church where you were in without the armorer there, and anyone could have loaded a live round. And they would have had to have known what they were doing because they had to open up the loading gate, load the live round, pull out the dummy round. And he's the producer. He's not just an actor. So that's another level of liability. But it makes no sense that they wouldn't be filming. I also explained in previous segments that he actually states, and they're filming over here. So, and the camera's filming this way. And he uses the phrase cut numerous times when he's speaking to Alec Baldwin. It's like a minute minute 20 seconds into the second interview. That's below. And I did numerous segments on that, so he kind of spilled the beans on that one. So, look. Then you have also shared with police that Baldwin had been very careful with firearms on the set, recalling the actor had made sure it was safe and that a young person wasn't near him when he was discharging a firearm. Then why did he discharge a firearm 18 inches away from the cinematographer? So when somebody says, well, he was very safe well, then why wasn't he safe then? Why didn't he, if he was so safe with the firearm, why didn't he wait for the armorer to hand him the Colt 45? These are the 3 or 4 key points that any prosecutor or Gloria Allred or any lawsuit is going to level at Alec Baldwin. The armorer wasn't in the church, number 1. The assistant director handed him the Colt 45, loaded, not the armorer, number 2. It was left unattended on a cart for 10 minutes. One estimate is 2 hours, but apparently it's just 10 minutes. Or the latest estimate is 10 minutes. Okay. There was a camera crew protest of unsafe working conditions. So by some reports, they were down to 1 camera. And then you have almost certain tampering of evidence after the fatal tragedy. Okay? Then you have the issue of him obsessing over pulling back the hammer as if that absolves him. You'd have to be a complete imbecile and an ignorant buffoon to believe that simply pulling back the hammer absolves Alec Baldwin, or that him getting the firearm from somebody other than the armorer would have absolved him. And even if the armorer gave him the firearm and he didn't check himself, that would have been bad. But at least his defense would have been intact. But you know what? That is the situation we're dealing with, and the statute is not going to absolve him. He did not use usual and ordinary caution. Everybody from George Clooney to all these actors being interviewed, they don't know how it happened, because on these film sets, when Alec Baldwin says it's a one in a trillion situation, he's actually pointing yet another greater spotlight upon himself. Everything he says opens up a Pandora's box of questions. The reason it's never happened is because other sets took very good protocol or appropriate measures. They did abide by usual and ordinary caution. Okay, and without any unlawful intent. Well, the unlawful intent in this case would be saving money at the expense of people's safety and focusing on time at the expense of people's safety. Why did they have the armorer do 2 jobs? That never happens. There's never an armorer. There's usually a dedicated armorer. And why did they refuse safety meetings? The armorer stated that they refused safety meetings. So, I mean, you have a situation where he aims, fires at a woman's midsection, and then he's now speaking to spiritual leaders. I mean, this is Hollywood. Do you understand? This is Hollywood. And for a second, I was thinking, maybe I should stop talking about this. Just because, I've been doing a lot of segments. I'm like, what? This man's in the news every 2 seconds talking about how he's speaking to religious and spiritual leaders. And they're on Instagram, showing how happy they are. So it's like, this is an important story that ABC News, they're giving him the Michael Avenatti treatment initially, the Jussie Smollett treatment initially. This is what happens with disgraced, morally superior liberals. they initially give a barrage of positive public relation spin. You saw it with Jussie Smollett. You saw it for years with Michael Avenatti. And then you're seeing it initially with Alec Baldwin. Then new revelations come out like, oh, he's being charged with a crime. Then there's a lawsuit. And if he's charged with the crime and there's a trial, you better believe media will then pull away and then there will be criticism. Because on that political side, what happens is protect, whether it's mashed potato brains, our president, or Alec Baldwin, or Jussie Smollett, or the Cuomo brothers, or it's protect until it is so embarrassing and it is so mind-boggling how corrupt they are or how despicable they are that the media says, you know what, we're going to jettison you and we'll move on and we'll just keep protecting the next liberal icon. And so this is the media protection phase for Alec Baldwin. What happens next from media is, oh, okay, well, you know what? We're going to... The word disgraced actor will very likely, depending on what takes place, be used. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Right now, go to the Stock Market Crash channel. I'll put the legal statute and the People article below in the description section to my new Patreons. Thank you so